Depressed people are ungrateful people. Yes. You're always down, you're always sad, you're always depressed. It's because you're ungrateful. If you're grateful in your spirit, heaviness can't stay. Heaviness can't stay. You're focused on what you have not gotten rather than focusing on what you do have. So depression is more than just a mental condition or mental whatever. It's ingratitude because they're focused on what they don't have. And so they're overwhelmed by it that they fail to see that God has been good. And such people, don't attempt to help an ungrateful person. They will never be satisfied.
I want to respectfully respond to something that was said here. The statement that depressed people are ungrateful people is inaccurate and potentially harmful. It reflects a common misconception that depression is simply sadness, negativity, weak faith, or a failure to appreciate one's blessings. Psychiatry, neuroscience, and clinical psychology do not support this view. I personally don't support that view either. You can't claim that people are depressed because they compare themselves to others and because they refuse to appreciate what God has done for them. Depression is not simply sadness. It's a recognized medical condition and it has been described in standard psychiatry texts. It's a disorder involving persistent disturbances in mood, cognition, energy, sleep, appetite, motivation, and functioning. It affects how a person thinks, feels, eats, sleeps, concentrates, and behaves. Research shows that depression arises from a complex interaction of genetic vulnerability, neurobiological changes, psychological factors, stressful life events, trauma, social and environmental influences, and even medical illnesses. A person can be deeply grateful, strongly religious, financially successful, surrounded by loved ones, and still experience depression. In fact, one of the hallmarks of depression is something called anhedonia, which is the reduced ability to experience pleasure, joy, or satisfaction from things that would normally bring one happiness and probably once did. That's not ingratitude. That's a symptom of an illness. This symptom occurs because of alteration in brain circuits involved in reward processing, not because someone has chosen to be ungrateful. Telling someone with depression that they just need to be more grateful is like telling someone with asthma that they just need to breathe harder. Funny, right? What many faith leaders are trying to encourage is gratitude, hope, and resilience, which are valuable and can be productive for mental health. However, gratitude is not a cure for major depressive disorder, and depression should never be reduced to spiritual failure or moral weakness. Can gratitude help mental health? Absolutely. Can faith provide comfort, hope, and resilience? Absolutely. But depression is not a sign of weak faith, and it's not proof that one is ungrateful. It's also important to note that comparing suffering, for example, saying others have it worse, is never therapeutic. We would not tell someone that has diabetes or hypertension that their illness is invalid because another person has cancer. Mental illnesses deserve the same compassion. The people suffering from depression don't need judgment. What they need is understanding and support. And when necessary, even professional help. Please, let's replace stigma with compassion and misinformation with evidence. If depression were simply a lack of gratitude, then gratitude journals would cure severe depression, but they don't. That's because depression is far more complex than that. Let's stop blaming people for illnesses they didn't choose. This message wasn't intended to drag anyone to the stand. It was just intended to educate the public on what depression really means and replace misinformation with actual facts. I'm Dr. Odi, the mental health doc. What do you think about what I've spoken today? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section.